I'm Matthew Kelly. Welcome back to Radical and Relevant, where we're reflecting each day on the gospel, the genius and simplicity of the gospel, and learning to apply it to our own lives. Looking for a word or phrase or an idea that jumps out at you that God is using to speak to you, to challenge you, to encourage you today. Today's reading is a short one from Mark chapter 8, verses 11 through 13. The Pharisees came and began to argue with Jesus, seeking from him a sign from heaven to test him. And he sighed deeply in his spirit and said, "Why does this generation seek a sign? Truly I say to you, no sign shall be given to this generation." And he left them. Getting into the boat again, he departed to the other side. The word that jumps out at me today is argue. And who's arguing? The Pharisees are arguing with Jesus. And how does that translate? The Pharisees are arguing with God. And sometimes we argue with God, or worse than that, and I do mean worse than that, we don't argue with God when we disagree with God or when we think we disagree with God. And so we go into this very passive-aggressive stance in our spirituality where we sort of hold God at arm's length because we disagree with God about something, or we think we disagree with God about something, but we're not willing to really sit down with God and talk about it. We're not really willing to study the issue, to explore the issue. And so that becomes an obstacle between us and God. If, on the other hand, we're willing to set that passive-aggressive approach aside, and we are really willing to engage in conversation, in debate, in even argument with God about whatever issue is the issue, then that becomes an opportunity for enormous spiritual growth. So if there's an issue, if there's something you disagree with God about, get into it, dive into it deep, read about it, talk to God about it, debate with God, argue with God, converse with God, but don't take the passive-aggressive approach, because that will only become an obstacle between you and God, between you and really dynamic spiritual growth. God bless you and have a great day. And don't just be yourself. Be the very best version of yourself, all that God created you to be.